So this video is about 2003 F-250 6.0 Powerstroke Power 4 single rear wheel. I'll be installing a 4-inch lift kit, super lift with Bilstein shocks, 5100 series, the dual steering stabilizers, and at the end of the video and the beginning I do a measurement of the stock height with the stock spring, stock everything on my driveway, so it's at a little bit of a slant, and then I measure it after with the same tires, the 285, 75, 16s, and then I do a final measurement at the very end with the 315, 75, 17s. And so the video is not like a step-by-step install, it's just a few things that I would have liked to have found before I decided to buy this lift kit, or also what tools I would have needed. That's one thing I couldn't find. There was no like real specific information that what tools I should buy. I know that everyone just says that the instructions tells you, but it doesn't tell you what size you need. So yeah, you could just enjoy, subscribe. I'll try to make more videos. I have this Powerstroke, and I have a 99 F-350 dually flatbed V10, which I'll be doing some stuff to. And this is not so much a how-to channel or whatever. It's just me sharing what I have learned or what I've done to it. So that's why someone else can do it, or someone else that wants to do some simple stuff to their truck can do it without having to go super expensive and just changing it, or even doing it yourself. So I'm gonna do it myselfer with the stuff I can, and stuff I can't, I'll ask my friends to help me out, or if not, that's where it comes down for me paying. So 4-inch super lift. On the back I have ready lift blocks. So here it goes. F-250. I want to measure it from the wheel well to the height, because all this information that I'm going to be putting up, it's the information that I would have liked to have known. So stock height, it's 39 inches with the stock springs from 2003. So it's 39 inches there. I have 285s, the tire size. The rear, it is at 41 inches, and the bed rails, it's like 55, like 54 and a half. And see tailgate. Tailgate's at roughly 3 feet. I'm gonna be putting a 4-inch super lift on it with Bilstein shocks and dual stabilizer. So this is just some measurement stuff that I would have liked to have found on the internet before. So I started with the 4-inch lift kit install by taking apart the instructions. It comes with instructions, but you take off the sway bar end link. It's right here. I forgot what size it was. Let's see. Yeah, so it's a 18 millimeter. I took it off with the breaker bar and then with the ratchet by hand. I loosened this on the bottom link. So that's why I could pull it out from inside the chassis, from the C channel, pull it in so it would fall in, and I removed that bracket too, and I have to replace that, so took it off. The shocks are I believe 14 up on top, and the bottom one is smaller. Can't remember, but I take those off. Here, let me see this way. The bottom one, to remove this bottom shock, it's 15 millimeter. This side, this thing, when you're loosening it, it pops out, so it grabs on still, but I just pushed it in with this little dead blow thing that I have, so it wouldn't pinch my finger or anything. And the top one, to remove it, it's an 18 millimeter. It's not too hard. The top one was easier, just with the little impact that I have, it worked. And the bottom one is a breaker bar, and then with the ratchet, and then took it all off, the rest of it off with the little impact. The one I'm struggling with, that I gotta go get sockets for, that's for the track bar. To remove this, you gotta take this off. I don't have sockets that big, so I'm gonna have to go buy some, like Harbor Freight. And then I take this bracket off, put it in a track bar bracket, and then put it back together. So it comes with instructions and everything. The new U-bolts and stuff for the front suspension. So it's just a matter of following them step by step. Most of the stuff can be done with like the average tools that you have. except like those big sockets, those are once I go get them I'll say what they are, what size they are, but I don't have that size, any socket that big. These are the old shocks too, I just took them off. The stock Rancher shocks that come with the FX4 package. These things are pretty dead. Push it all the way down. It's not coming out. So I'm gonna be replacing them. I got the Bilstein 5100 series. So I'm gonna get those, put it on all four corners, and then I got the dual front steering stabilizer too, with Bilstein shocks, the gas shocks, whatever they are. So far this has been the easiest part, but next would be taking the track bar off and then loosening the U-bolts, taking the springs off and all that stuff. So I'll keep putting a little more clips as I take this stuff apart. So I went to Harbor Freight. I got a set of metric half-inch sockets, the deep sockets, from like the 32mm down to like, I don't know what's the smallest one, like it looks like 7/16 or like 9/16. And I got the metric end standard SE, and I got a set of extensions and like a bag to store them in. It was like 74 bucks. So far I spent 74 bucks on parts, or no, on tools that I didn't have, but it's a 30mm. That's what size to take the track bar off, and whatever I spent on a lift kit, which is like less than $2,000 I think. So yeah, it's a 30mm. I use a breaker bar to get it loose, and then I'm gonna try it just with the ratchet. I don't have a swivel. I have to see if I have a swivel to take it off. Maybe I can use the impact, but with the breaker bar you can get it off. Obviously with the half-inch ratchet it'll come off. Oh yeah, it's okay. So I got it loose. So that this thing, when it was tightened, it was on the other side, so the first few turns was to bring it all the way over here, so it stops right there. So it's not impossible, it just requires some work. So the hard part of not having the right tools, now I have it, so it's just a matter of having to muscle it. So after getting the chalk bar loose, there's a little pry bar you can pry it down between this to get this to slide down, is to take the bolts off on the U-bolts for the lease ring. It's a 24mm. No, it's 21. It's a 21mm. Take it off. I use a breaker bar to break it loose, and then I use a ratchet, a half-inch ratchet to take it off. Half-inch drive ratchet. The only thing I messed up on is that the jack stands I have, they don't go too high. They're almost maxed out, so I can't fit the impact on the bottom to take it off faster. So that's the only thing I messed up on. So if you do this yourself, just get some bigger jack stands that are taller, or figure out a way how you want to do it. But yeah, I can't put any power tools under here, they don't fit, so I'm doing everything by hand. It takes a little bit longer, it's a little bit more physical work, but it's not impossible. So after getting the U-bolts off, that bracket that goes on the bottom falls off, and then to get this bolt out that goes through the whole the leaf spring, there's a little bracket. This little bracket, it holds like I think it's the AC condenser right there. You take this bracket off right here. There's pull this down a little bit, and there's a screw inside there. It's I don't know if it's actually 15/16, but 15/16 works on it pretty good. Just take this off, take this bracket off, and it gets out of the way. With a dead blow or the hammer, you can just hammer this bolt straight through. And when I use a 3/8 extension to slide it to finish hammering it through. So now just pull it out. Now this is out, it's free. Now I just gotta take off the back side, the back part of the leaf spring. But taking this little bracket off makes the biggest difference, because if you leave it there, the head of the bolt will be hitting on the bracket right under here. So, and the instructions say do one side at a time, so it'll be good. So the AC condenser is not gonna fall off or anything. It'll stay there. I think it's a condenser. So it'll stay there fine. It's being supported on the other side and on top. So, and then I'm gonna just leave the bolt here, because when I put it back in the new spring, I'll just slide it straight across again. So this harness is from the fog lights. Yeah, so this is the way that you can get this bolt out. And the other end of this one, this nut, I believe is, what size is it? I think it's 24. Yeah, it's a 24 millimeter. Yeah. Yeah, put the 24 millimeter. And I know it's probably not the correct way to do it, but I used a crescent wrench on the inside. I put the crescent wrench right here, and it would bind up on itself right here, up on this like little crease of the metal of the frame. So I don't have a wrench I don't have wrenches that big, so a crescent wrench worked for me. I'm just doing this with the tools that I have, and I'm only buying the stuff I actually need, like, that I can't do the job without, and that was the sockets. So for sure, you need metric sockets. Standard, I don't think you'll need them so far yet, but I bought them because it's good to have. I work on my own stuff, so I'm probably gonna need them eventually. So to take the back one off, that one I did build. I was able to fit the impact. Same thing, 24 millimeter crescent wrench. What happened is this one. Oh, when I was taking the bolt off, hammering it through the dead blow, it hit the front drive shaft. So you just lower the axle with the floor jack a little bit, and it'll clear it. It'll go right over the drive shaft, and then the leaf spring will just plop down. Just be aware of brake lines. No, yeah, too tight, but yeah, pull it out. This is the stock one versus the super lift 4-inch one. So got 2 leads versus, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I guess. 6 leads. So that's the difference. And to put it back in, I'm gonna try it the same way I got the other one out, sliding it in, but that's pretty self-explanatory, just to figure out how to get it inside there. So that's the goal. So to get the new leaf spring in, kind of have to wrestle with it a little bit, but I got it in. I brought it in behind the brake lines, brought it forward and back, and then I got it in. To hit the back one, I used a pry bar and the breaker bar. I have to bend the, I don't know, they call this a shackle, I guess, wherever it's attached to this. I had to push that and pry the leaf spring down, and then I had my mom help me slide the bolt through. You need 3 hands for this one. Maybe it was an easier way, but that's how I did it. This one, I had to use my floor jack up here in the front, and this little one under the axle, lift the axle up with the leaf spring, and then I put the breaker bar in between. Let's see. In between the top of the leaf spring, the military spool thing, whatever it's called, top of the leaf, and then that gave it space so it would line up. So I just pushed it down a little bit once I got it somewhat lined up, and I was able to slide it through. And so now I just got tighten it. But that is what made it. So that's why I was able to line it up. So it's not impossible. It's just it's kind of difficult right here. This part, doing it by yourself, but it's very doable. It's just requires a little bit of work. And I took this cooler off right here. I don't know what this little one's for. So maybe it's transmission, I don't know. I think I have a bigger trans cooler. The 6 has a bigger trans cooler, so I don't know what this little one is for. But it was easier for me to unbolt it, so that's why I can this bolt. I was able to push it through, hammered, tapped it in, and then right now that I'm done with this, I'll put it all back together. The cooler, the little bracket under this one. So that made it easier, just taking these two bolts off, 5/16s, and then I put this little support back on, and then tighten it down the spec, and then whatever else the instructions call for. So when I originally put this on the first time, I had the breaker bar in between here and the frame, and it got stuck, so I had to take it off, and I put a pry bar on it, like a big pry bar, and that has an angle, so I could hammer it out. So I got stuck, so I had to take that off. The track bar bracket, the relocation bracket, everything lines up well. Just that one that lines up over there to put that top one. I had to drill that hole out a tiny bit with this, like what's called that, like torpedo diamond cutter, whatever you call it. So I had the step up bit. That's what it's called, step up bit. So I used a step up bit to make the hole a little bit bigger. That's why it would line up. It was off by a tiny bit. It was enough to not line everything up. And then just put that. I put Loctite on this, and now I put the U-bolts. then the bottom of the U-bolt brace, the bottom, then tying it, and then go on to the next side. So this side was the driver's side takes a little bit longer because you have to put this onto the track bar. It's on this side, but that side should be easier after I've done the first side. So lining this bolt up was a little bit difficult too, but getting it started, and then everything else went fairly easy. And then or you put the front one on first, then the back one. So that's why it's not binding on it. On the driver's side, I made that mistake. I put the back one first, then the front one, the front of the vehicle. So put the front one first, line it up, then you put the second one in the back. I used 2 pry bars and the help of my mom and my dad. They just once you line the hole up through the bushing, just slide the bolt through and it should go in. So next is just the U-bolts, and that's it. And then put the shock up back on. And the instructions tells you all the torque spec and all that. Still gotta put the track bar back on. You can see the mount over there, and then the steering stabilizer. And then it has the sway bar and link shock brackets. So that goes on there, attached to the chassis, and the sway bar and link. So I got the track bar back on. I put the bolt on the other way. I don't think it makes a difference with this bracket as compared to the stock one, but this has like a little clip pin that it holds it in place. In order for me to get it to line up right here, I had to open it up. I bent it a tiny bit, not even a whole lot, not even noticeable. That's why it would land in the bottom hole, and that would keep it straight. Not to have to hang on to it with anything. Then tighten with the impact. It's like 129 foot-pounds, something like that, 100 and something. The instructions tell you how tight to get it to, so the impact just gets it tight, and then with a torque wrench. And I jacked up the axle. I had to jack it up in order to get it to the track bar to go up that high. Because if you leave it just fully stretched, it'll line up to the second hole, the bottom one, but it says to do the upper one. So did the upper one, and I hit it with the little dead blow, and I used the pry bar, this big crowbar that I had. Before I compressed it all the way, I put it between here and it fit inside here. So excuse me, to get it up, I just hit it with the crowbar, like bust. I hit it up at an angle, and then just with a jack you play with it a little bit just so the hole lines up, and then you can get the bolt to slide through, and everything should be fine. So to put the steering stabilizer on, the super lift, right there, the instructions tell you to cut that little piece of the bracket off. It's lying right there on the ground. So I grinded it, used the grinder, cut off wheel, and the flap disc to take the sharp edge off with the black spray paint. And on this side, you have to take the bottom U-bolts, the bolts off, and put that bracket on. So if you're doing this at the same time as the lift kit, just make sure you have the steering stabilizer on. You can put that bracket on at the same time as you're putting on the U-bolts. So that's why you don't take it off again. I didn't check, so I had to do that today, the next day. And then this goes in the center. For me, I measured from the outside of the bottom bolt to the inside of this middle bolt on the bottom. It was 19 1/4, and the instructions say for it to be 19 1/8, but I made sure that they're both equal with each other. So, and the instructions say for the body of the shock to be facing out. So this is how it's supposed to go, and just tighten everything down. I used the marker, like a paint marker, to mark down the points, just so I can check later on, see if it's loosened up or anything. The one I didn't do that to was the U-bolts, because I'm going to go test drive it, and then I'll come back, retorque it, and then once I finish everything up. So this is steering stabilizer in the front. This is fairly easy. It's just a matter of the measuring part and getting it centered is the part that's a little bit more tedious. So now moving off to the rear, I got this U-bolt off with I think it's like a 20 something, 24 millimeter, and I used like these like half swivel extensions, whatever you call them. For the outer ones, the inner ones, I can't get the gun to fit because of the bed right here, like where the wheel well's at. So I'm gonna do this by hand. Same thing. I had airbags on the inside that sit on the bump stop of the current block. So I undid that. I'm gonna leave it there and I can take it apart. Then take the U-bolts off, drop it with the floor jack, and then it should be able just to put the new block inside. So we'll see right now. But yeah, jack stands, put them on the bottom of the hitch frame, the hitch receiver, for the toe behind. So the truck's not going nowhere. I put chocks on it, it's on the driveway, so put wheel chocks in front. Just getting to it. So we got the new blocks. I got those with a bump stop for my airbags that mount on the inside. So these aren't super lift blocks, they're ready lift blocks. The stock Ford ones, F-250 ones. The 4-inch kit. I unbolted both sides at the same time. The axle did not come down perfectly straight. The ground's at a slope too from the driveway. So just be aware of that and be careful. And I'm gonna just do one side at a time. I can move it fairly easily, so. I'm just taking time also to dust this off. I went in a mud pit at Gorman. There's mud everywhere, like dried up dirt, so taking time to dust some of this stuff off. But yeah, just basically goes like this. And that's it. Just make sure the hole lines up. The pin on the bottom, and there's a front. There's a taper to them. That's for the angle, for the drive shaft, and all that, and the pinion, and all that other stuff. So make sure you put it the right way. So after I got the block out, the axle started to tilt forward like this. So what I did, I have another little floor jack. Put it under where the pinion and the drive shaft connect. Jack it up, and that corrected it to bring it back up, and it made it super easy to line up the blocks up. So just line the pin on the bottom, the pin, like a little nipple here, on the bottom of the stack, and then just put the cap back on. And then since I have this, the truck came with this overdose frame, it's actually like inch or two whatever. Get longer U-bolts, so. Just a matter of putting the U-bolts on now. So, take something like that. Just make sure everything lines up, and then put the stuff on. Oh. So, when I was putting the U-bolts on, the instructions are very vague. I just made sure that the U-bolts lined up with the old wear marks, like the scratches from the old U-bolt, the stock one. Same thing with this one. I just tightened it with the impact, just that's why it brings it up snug, and then I just torque them down. I would tighten it as much as the socket would go, then cut it with the grinder, then keep going. In order to speed up the process, just to get it to go down quicker instead of doing it by hand, I used all these little extensions that are angled or beveled, whatever you call it. And I was able to get it. It fits to the inside of the fender well, and it lines up. And then I just get it to go down, pull it out, cut it, do it again until I got the U-bolts sucked up all the way. So now I'll just clean it up, and then I'll torque it to whatever the specs are. And yeah, then go for, I think that's mainly it. I got the carrier bearing spacer kit too. But, I'm gonna test drive to see how it drives, and then if I feel it shaking or anything, then maybe I'll come mess with that, but maybe for now I'll just leave it like that. So that's this side. And this other side, same thing already. I just snugged it down, I have to torque it still. Then my bag, the airbags, the bracket goes like this with that bolt that comes from right there. Touches here. So 2 floor jacks makes it easier. You don't have to, but it makes it a whole lot easier. So at the end of putting the 4-inch lift kit, the final measurements is center of the wheel going straight up. It is about 44 inches. 43 3/4, say 44. And then out here, so this one is 43 and 56 and a half. So It's on the driveway. It's at an angle. I don't know if it's that much of a drastic angle or a level change, I guess, for it to make a big difference. But for the video, I want to make sure the same thing over again, replicated. Anyway, back here, it went up an inch on the tailgate with the angle of the ground. So that's how it came out. The Bilstein 5100 series, the blocks. Let's see if I can get a glimpse of it. Yeah, the blocks right there. The new U-bolts. The airbags are hugging the block, and they're sitting on the bump stop. Then the front, the new pads, or the leaf springs. I mean, the brake lines, the 5100 series, the front ones. The gas shocks, or yeah, the gas, whatever they say they are. The dual stabilizers. Then it comes out here to the same thing on the other side, the shock, the new track bar, drop down bracket. And that's mainly it. Oh, I put new sway bar end links because the ones I had were all shot. And the sway bar end link bracket, the drop down bracket, there's numbers on it imprinted in, like stamped in. So on the instruction it tells you which one's left and which one's right. So yeah, that's it. I put a brand new one. When you buy those, I bought those at Napa. Brand new. They have this bolt pressed in. And these are all shot. But they have these bolt pressed in. All I did, I left the thread like that. And I just hammered it down like that, and it popped straight out. Since they were fresh in there, they just slid right out. I think like 2 hits and they came out. The old ones, the old rear shocks. Same thing as the front ones, all slow. The front steering stabilizer, the stock one, pushed it in, hasn't come out since I pushed it in. This whole job took me like 10 hours, like a day and a half. One day I started at 11 and finished at 7 with the front suspension. Next morning I did the steering stabilizer. That took me about an hour and a half. Went to Napa, got those sway bar end links, finished that. Then came back, it took me about 2-3 hours to do the rear. Second jack helps and makes the whole process easier, the front and the back. So using 2 jacks makes it a whole lot easier. Makes the biggest difference. Yeah, maybe I'll make some later videos of this truck going around. I got my V10 flatbed out there too. That one I might be doing a leveling kit, or I might go something crazy on it. So I'm not sure yet. I got a welder in the back of it, so I still want it to be usable. But until the fifth wheel rattles, so I wanted to make sure that I would still be able to fit here and hook up fairly easily. Not it'd be a whole mission to get there. So the cab height is 6 feet 10 inches with the 4-inch lift kit, and then I have this little rack thing I made. The rack is at 7 feet 5 inches. So the cab height will be 6 feet 10 inches. You'll still fit in drive-throughs and in parking structures. That's a pro. So I'm measuring to the 315 75 16ths. It measures the fender well at 44 1/4. Then the rear one's at 43 1/4. And the bed rail's at 57. Then the tailgate I'll open up later. This is the overall picture of a 4-inch lift kit. It's still a decent height where you can probably still tell the fifth wheel, and it'll still fit in drive-thrus and in parking structures. So
4-inch lift kit built and more to come.